Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Toyota and Bet365. Good news, the Cubs only lost one game today to the Brewers. Bad news, they only played one game against the Brewers today. And King Tuck gets booed and benched at Wrigley Field. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, driven by Toyota. Let's go places and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use the code CHGO365 at sign-up. I don't know if the start of this series could have possibly gone any worse than it did today on Monday in Game 1 of the doubleheader. 7-0 Brewers. And that's just the beginning of it. Luke Stuckmeyer and Joey Christopoulos with you. Sarah running the ones and twos. We were supposed to have two games. We were supposed to be up on a rooftop celebrating the second one. And instead, thunderstorms and a first game that you'd like to flush down the toilet because it was that bad. I mean, Joey, let's just start first with the news that, number one, the Cubs expect Matthew Boyd to start Game 1 tomorrow, assuming it's sunny. And then in Game 2, right now it appears Jameson Taillon will start Game 2, and Jordan Wicks has been called up, according to Tommy Birch. So you figure he's going to be in there because they had to use so many guys because of the Cade Horton injury, which we will talk about in just a bit with the blister. But Joey, how hard was that first game to watch?
Luke, I'm having a day, and I think it's what the kids call crashing out. So the next hour, jump in the chat. Let's all crash out together. Before we get into all the good stuff, I do feel like I need to start with a little bit of some gratitude. So I want to hand out some thank yous really quick. I want to thank all the wonderful people that came to the our rooftop events on Friday and, of course, on this Monday. People like Tim, people like Cassie from North Carolina.
Wow, yeah, it was incredible.
Spencer, it was really great to see everybody out there. Really, really appreciate it. I want to thank Mother Nature for wiping the second game of this doubleheader away, Luke, because let's be honest, the Cubs were not ready to play Game 2 of this 5-game series that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks as a series that was going to loom large for the Chicago Cubs and their divisional hopes. Speaking of divisional hopes, I also want to thank the Academy and the Hollywood Foreign Press, and I want to thank Luke Stuckmeyer because a week ago, Luke, we did an off-day show on a Monday, and you were declaring the division was dead.
It is.
And I had laid out a plan of 11 games in 10 days where the Chicago Cubs could, in theory, get back into this divisional race. They've gone 3-4 since then. They look completely lifeless today. Offensively, they seem to be completely broken. So in terms of the divisional bar and grill, Luke, I want to thank you for saving me a seat because I think I need to now head over across the street to the Division is Dead Bar and Grill. And officially, we maybe need to start beginning the transition period into talking about this team as a wild card team. They have Boyd and Taillon going tomorrow. Clearly they didn't burn too many guys today. They brought up Luke Little and Gavin Hollowell. Typically country music artists that I would love to hear from, but they were pitchers today. There
were a few sad songs out of a couple of them too.
A couple ballads that I did not quite appreciate today. So they should be pretty fresh for tomorrow. But Luke, I mean, my first thought about this is that I'm just glad they didn't play Game 2. Because this team is spiraling in so many ways, including the headline right now. And soul-searching time doesn't even cover it, right? And we're going to get into the manager. We're going to get into the lineup. We're going to get into a little bit of everything. But today was a bit of a crash-out day for the Chicago Cubs. A really rough start for a 5-game series that we've been talking about for a really long time.
I mean, 2 hits. We'll get to that in a second. But the headline after today is, yes, if you didn't think the division was over, it's over. It's back to 8 games. And focus on trying to win the wild card, which they still have a 98% chance of making the postseason. But the real headline is King Tuck being loudly booed off the field at Wrigley. And then his manager says, we're giving him a couple of days off. Like, he has been officially benched by the Chicago Cubs. Tucker will get multiple games off, according to Craig Counsell. The quote, the fans are frustrated. Kyle is frustrated, and it's unfortunate. We're going to have to take a little step back here for sure. They're going to give him off a couple of days to try and reset him. Hopefully, he wasn't going to play in game 2 of this series. But, when you look at the numbers, it's just staggering. A 57% ground ball rate in August. He's batting $189 with 3 extra base hits since July 1st. 1 RBI in August. We're the 18th of August. I think most people have the same reaction that I do on this one, Joey, and that is, what took you so long to get to this decision? What took the Cubs so long to decide this guy needs multiple games off? I don't know if it's the IL stint. I don't know if it's mental. We'll get to all that stuff. But, he clearly isn't himself. And you let it spiral so badly that now the fans have turned on him and they're booing him loudly at Wrigley.
Incredibly unfortunate, because when we talk about Kyle Tucker at the beginning of the season, I think from my perspective, I wanted Chicago Cubs fans to wrap their arms around Kyle Tucker to convince him to sign this long extension to stay as a Chicago Cub. But Chicago Cubs fans are not stupid, and they are seeing the production or lack thereof from seemingly our best player on the team. And Luke, I'm curious with the chat of when we should have done it, but man, could they have just left him in the States before the long road trip to go to Canada to play in Toronto? Who knows? I don't even think, we tried to talk about whether Kyle Tucker was injured or not. Whether he's injured or not, Jesse Rogers, ESPN 1000, when he tweeted that Tucker was going to take a couple days off, 57% ground ball rate over the last few weeks.
That's it.
And Luke, here's the thing. I'd love your perspective on this. Is that first moment, what was it, about a week ago, or maybe it was in Toronto, when we saw Kyle Tucker slam his helmet in the dugout, and for a guy who's supposed to be even keel, for a guy who's supposed to be cool as a cucumber, showing that type of frustration, showed it again today. I understand that you want to back your players as a manager like Craig Counsell, but at some point you have to be ahead of the sticks a little bit on some of this stuff. And the fact that they're doing it now, that they're deciding to bench, and you said it right, bench. They're going to call it a reset. No. And maybe in many ways it will be. But don't mistake this. We're old school guys. This is a benching one way or another. The fact that it's happening in the middle of a 5-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers, your division leading rival. If you're Craig Counsell right now, malpractice is a word, but they got this one wrong. And they're a little bit behind, a little slow to the switch, if you will, in terms of what needed to be done with, I still believe, the best player on their team.
Yeah, I mean, what were they waiting for? Like, he jammed his thumb back on June 1st. He can't even hit a fly ball anymore. You've taken a guy that was like in the MVP race with PCA, an all-star, a guy that we were talking about $500 million, and he can't hit a fly ball. Forget the strikeouts, and he gets some walks and yada, yada, yada. He's batting $189, and he can't hit a fly ball anymore. What else did they need to see? Everybody in the world knew the guy needed a break. And now you've let it get to the point where, in my opinion, the only way that Kyle Tucker can redeem himself and, for his purpose, make millions of dollars back. Not that he still won't get a big deal in the offseason, he will, but not like he was going to get. The only way he can recoup that money now is to take this break, get the Cubs to the postseason, limping or not, and then have a huge postseason. That's the only way he makes this money back. Right? Like, that's it for him. And right now, I think teams got to be looking at it going, this is the worst slump of his career. The Cubs are partly to blame for it. There's no question about it.
If you're looking at it from a personal level, this stretch of baseball is not going away from Kyle Tucker's resume. And it definitely will not go away from Cubs fans anytime soon. My question for you is on a macro level. I mean, Luke, man, you've seen a lot in this town. You've covered a lot of sports, specifically baseball. And maybe we can keep it to baseball in terms of the genre of sport for right now. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen anything like this? Have you ever seen an unequivocal best player on a team have to take this step back, have to do the Miguel Amaya, Matt Shaw, PCA, reset, setback in the middle of the season, compounded with the timing of them playing a 5-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers? Sitting him down right now may be best for the Chicago Cubs in the long haul, but also sitting Kyle Tucker right now on paper, on the surface, is almost seceding the division to the Milwaukee Brewers at this point. Have you ever, I was trying to think, did they ever sit down Derek Lee for 5 days? Did they ever sit down Anthony Rizzo?
Right. Not for a series like this. This reeks of desperation. This reeks of desperation to try and fix it, and it's tardy desperation. It's late. You're late on the decision. You should have done it at least 2 weeks ago. At least 2 weeks ago, right? Okay, I'm crazy to even mention this. I know, but like, if you're trying to re-sign the guy, if he does bounce back and have a great offseason and they get there, yada, 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 and you say, he's our solution and we will give him, like Niren said, 6 years, $200 million or whatever, okay? You don't think he's going to remember the boos? You don't think he's going to remember that everybody turned on him when things got really, really bad? I'm not saying the fans shouldn't have booed. I'm just saying the Cubs are at fault for letting it get to this point. They put the Cubs and Tucker in this situation. They're the ones that are late. I can't think of offhand a star player going through a stretch like this at this time when a team was riding so high, best in baseball. And then when it comes to desperation time, they face their arch rival for 5 games and things are so desperate that you've got to sit them down now of all times. Now of all times. I mean, did the Cubs fall flat in like 07 and 08 in the playoffs? Yeah, when they had the best record and they couldn't hit in the postseason for 3 straight games, that reminds me of this team. And we'll talk about another one coming up later in the show, but not one player. And I know it hasn't all been Tucker's fault. Let's remember, look at the offense today. 2 hits. The whole team had 2 hits against Peralta, who gave up 3 straight walks, loaded the bases, and you got a strikeout and a pop-up. 2 hits, and those 3 walks. Peralta didn't actually have it. He had no command for a while, and they were bailing him out left and right. And you look at it at the end, you say, well, he went 6 innings, 1 hit. Yeah, he gathered himself, but that offense is to blame for 90% of it. 2 hits.
I mean, and that I know we got
to guys.
We're going to break in a second here, but I think Burge 7F91 Sosa was dropped to 6th in the lineup in 2004, but I don't think he was the best player on that team in 2004. No. That's a great comment. That's a decent comp, but the only thing that I push back on is that the pendulum swings both ways. When we want to say what Kyle Tucker did with the first 2 months of the season permeated throughout the lineup, his frustration, his lack of production, I think we can also easily say is permeating through the rest of this lineup right now. And it's the forest beyond the trees. But as the manager, Craig Counsell, you do have to see some of this coming. And if you're going to gear up and get ready to try and take on the Milwaukee Brewers in this series, if you're serious about the division, how do you not do everything you can to get these guys right? And if you're just coming to this conclusion now that the reset should happen right now, let's be honest, the reset probably should have happened 10 days ago. And that is on the manager's job. That's on the analytics department, the front office, the expectation that they have of the incremental production above what they're expected to have. That's all baked into the pie here on this one. And unfortunately, I get that it's happening. I hope personally for Kyle Tucker, he comes back and gets right. But again, it's a little bit too little too late. And it's so frustrating right now. And I just personally, I've never seen this as a Cubs fan. I've never seen the best player on the team have to do a reset like this in the middle of August.
All right, we're going to get to more on Kyle Tucker in a second. What do you think about his benching and the booing? Tell us in the live YouTube chat. As we head to break, we'll find out what Jed Hoyer thinks about Tucker's health. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Cubs fans, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. So sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up 5 runs ahead, and your team doesn't have to be the Chicago Cubs to win this bet. 5 runs ahead at any point in the game, instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. So download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Remember, $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. CHGO365. Deposit 10, place a bet for $5, $150 in bonus bets, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
If you haven't been outside, it's outrageously humid. Still a lot of hot days left in 2025. Is your air conditioning up for this challenge? Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's been serving the Chicagoland area for more than 50 years. When it's hot and humid, you want to know that your home is going to be cool and comfortable. Just because we have to sweat out the Cubs offense every game doesn't mean you need to sweat in your house. Schedule your Four Seasons AC tune-up today. Save $50 and enjoy a 1-year no breakdown guarantee. Got to love that guarantee. Save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with Four Seasons. New AC units from $39 a month. AC furnace combos, $57 a month. Call 866-4Seasons. Your trusted local experts. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's Four Seasons Heatingcooling.com. Cubs get crushed 7-0. It was embarrassing at Wrigley Field. Let's be honest. Kyle Tucker, once the star of the team, nobody thought he could do any wrong, and now he's been booed off the field with 1 home run and 3 RBI since July 1st. They're going to give him a break. It sounds like it's going to be multiple games. If you're wondering, okay, as we did out loud on the show, does this go back to the jam thumb June 1st? If so, how could the Cubs let this go that long? Jed Hoyer was asked before the game about Tucker's health, and he said, I do think a lot of it's mechanical. Look at his swing early in the year to now. It's less connected and therefore less powerful. However, he did say Tucker is healthy. That's it. They've been asked straight out. The boss of the boss came out and said, nope, he's healthy. Okay, if he's healthy, then he's completely broken. It has nothing to do with injury, according to you. He's completely broken. The swing is way off. You see it. He sees it. He doesn't know how to fix it. You don't know how to fix it. And it took you this long, game 2 of a 5-game series against the Brewers, where you're fighting for your playoff lives. Now, also keep in mind, Joey, we said, okay, division's done. We know that. Forget the embarrassment of letting the Brewers win this division again, because that is embarrassing. Flat out embarrassing that they've let the Brewers do this again. But go back to the fact that there's 4 more games against the Brewers, who have lost one of their last 15. Okay, you better not lose the next 4 games. Let's keep it that simple. Forget about winning 4 in a row. You better not lose 4 in a row, because if you lose 4 more, somebody behind you is going to start gaining some serious ground. You better pay attention to what's going on. So that's another reason why this Tucker thing is too late. Forget the division. You got 4 games against the best team in baseball. You can't afford to go 0-5 against them. And 100%. That's the kind of thing I'm worried about now.
Luke, forget about the division. It's about survival now. Yeah. That's what this is about, right? And I think the conversation that Cubs fans are probably having right now, and maybe we're not able to pinpoint what's going on. Look, perspective check just really quickly, right, with Kyle Tucker, is there's a team right now called the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tom Ricketts seems to like that team. He's mentioned them in quotes before. They've got a star player right now signed through 2031 that had to meet the media today talking about him asking for days off when he isn't injured. Him, after the All-Star break, going on an unsanctioned vacation with his family and showing up 2 games later. But the fact that there's people in the clubhouse complaining about him, that is their cornerstone piece of the franchise right now, and he's had to come out and talk about that. In contrast right now, Kyle Tucker is not that player, right? Kyle Tucker wants to be good. Kyle Tucker wants to earn that contract. Kyle Tucker cares about the game of baseball. He is typically a low-maintenance player, Luke. The only issue that I have right now is I understand we could talk mechanical all day long. At some point, the mental side of this, and I'm going to use the word mental toughness. Mental toughness, Luke, has to come into play a little bit with this team right now. When everyone's gotten 12 rounds, right? We've talked about Michael Busch in the leadoff spot. We've talked about Seiya Suzuki. We've talked about PCA trying to meet the moment. We've talked about Dansby with runners in scoring position. We've talked about Matt Shaw up and down, left and right. And now we're talking about Kyle Tucker, your best player, undoubtedly, your best talented hitter, having to take a seat for the next couple of days. And I understand that we want to talk about, and Brendan put out a great tweet. Brendan Miller with Cubs Related put out a great tweet about his bat angle, about his launch angle right now, about how it's changed over the last couple of weeks. At some point, Luke, this has to come down a little bit to mental toughness, about trying to get some sort of perspective. And I have a feeling that Kyle Tucker wants it so bad. PCA maybe wants it so bad. But at the same time, baseball, as you said, is a very funny game. How do you center yourself right now and try and just get yourself back to baseline, get yourself back to water level? Because this, I believe deeply that the Chicago Cubs of the first 2 months is not an aberration, but maybe a little bit above of what they are probably capable of. And I really do believe that the team that we're seeing right now that just put up 2 hits against Freddie Peralta, who honestly wasn't really in the zone today, I don't believe that this Cubs team either. So where is the middle ground right now? And I'm looking for leadership. I'm looking for management, the manager, Craig Counsell. I mean, I'm looking at Dustin Kelly, the hitting coach. Where are we going to get this mental toughness right now to fight through this? And let's be honest, we've been fighting it for like a couple months now. So this isn't just like over the last week, Luke. So those are the type of questions that I'm having right now, especially with Kyle Tucker right now.
Remind me, I want to get back to the who can help him later in the show. But go back to early this season, in the off season, on this podcast, and we're talking to Ben Zobrist about mental health. Like, you're seeing it in front of you. The game is built on failure. But Kyle Tucker is this quiet star player who's never had a mental challenge like this before at the major league level. This is worse than the slump he had when he first came into the league.
And they sent him down to the minors, Luke. They sent him down to the minors after that. It was the Rizzo situation.
This is worse. Of course, some of it's okay, fine. The swing is off, but that's also mental, right? He's got to fix it in his head. He's got to get comfortable. He's got to get back to doing it. It's all still connected between the ears. It's all between the ears. And he doesn't know how to get out of it. So we can talk about that, but it's obviously a huge part of what's going on with Kyle Tucker. I mean, right now, he doesn't know what to do at the plate, right? Like, he's tried everything. He was trying red belts. They were talking about Joe Boo and all these other crazy things in the game. JD was on the broadcast today, and JD knows more about baseball than I will ever know. But he and Boog wanted to make it clear that one player, Kyle Tucker, doesn't make Seiya or PCA or Michael Busch better, okay? That's the way they described it. And in the actual way that is stated, I agree with it. But we also cannot deny that, in my eyes, when a guy is struggling like this and you're also struggling, it's contagious. I mean, I don't know how you put a value on that, but when one guy's going bad and they all start going bad, you look to the best guy on the team, and when he can't get his way out of it, that's a little contagious. I'm not blaming everything on Kyle Tucker. I'm not. I'm just saying that is a factor. And they did acknowledge that while he doesn't make Seiya Suzuki better as you don't make his skills better as a hitter, but he was seeing better pitches when Kyle Tucker was hitting. That's undeniable, right? Like I know he's not hitting the pitches that are right over the plate, but when he's hitting, he provides the opportunity for other players to see better pitches. That is also factual. So there is some trickle-down effect here. Like, again, I'm not blaming him because look at the rest of the team. They got 2 hits, and we've had that story. We've done that podcast 59 times in the last 60 days, it feels like, right? But, like, I do believe there's a trickle-down, and I do believe they look to him and say, man, if he can't get out of it, how are we ever going to get out of this? How are we ever going to get out of this slump?
Luke, look across the dugout when we want to talk about the mental aspect of this game and the contagious nature of offense, good or bad. My buddy in the chat, Sean Graves, Tucker was surrounded by studs in Houston. He didn't have to be the guy like he does here. That's a new mental challenge for him, and he's folding right now. Now, look, he may be folding right now, and this could be a challenge that he overcomes. But I'll be honest with you. Just think of yourself as the opposing pitcher on the mound, and you have to face a guy like Kyle Tucker. You have to work around the edges. You have to know that he's a smart hitter. You have to put a lot of thought and energy and mental energy into that at bat. And then he gets on base. And then the next guy up is Seiya Suzuki. I'm not saying that it automatically leads to success, but it can compound in ways that are intangible. And look, we've covered every corner of what's going on with Kyle Tucker right now. We've gone analytics. We've gone the physical side with his injury. And now that he's sitting down and looking for a reset, I think now we're at that third door. Door number 3 is the mental side. And look, it could be something that he didn't ask for, but at the same time, I think a lot of people, I think what he does at the plate and what he brings, just the presence in the lineup, resonates with other Cubs hitters in the lineup. And when he's going wrong, I think other guys either want to rally around him or they feel the pressure to pick up the slack. And when that happens, sometimes it can be this domino effect. And let's be real, it isn't just PCA, it's Carson Kelly, guys popping the ball up to the second baseman. You know what I mean? Just getting underneath it, wanting to do so much, too much with every single at bat. Even Matt Shaw last night getting pitch hit for. I get it that he's a competitor, but he wants to be the guy that cuts it loose, that breaks it open for the Chicago Cubs, gets them all back on the right side of things. Kyle Tucker is front facing that right now. The only thing, and maybe we'll hit it on the other side of the break, is when we say a couple of days, what does this look like to you, Luke? Is it the whole series?
No, that's what I was going to ask you. What's the number? And I want to ask the chat the same question. Like, how many games is this going to be? What are we talking about? Are they just saying a couple games of this series? As you said, Joey, is it the whole series? Is
the whole Brewers series? The whole thing that we've been talking about for a while.
Is it going to be 4 of the 5 games? Are you talking about a week?
Then
are you talking about 2? Listen,
if it's 5, then IL him. Right?
They can't afford it to be a week because if he doesn't hit, they're going nowhere. That's the bottom line. So I know this is a desperation move, but they also can't afford it to be 10 games because if he comes back and he doesn't hit, fold up the tent. Fold up the tent because the other guys can't carry this team. And that's as much as a lot of people want to say the guy's not worth it, don't do this. I'm not disagreeing with some of it. I'm just saying on paper, he's your most accomplished player, period. It's not even close for his career. The back of his card is better than any else's card. He has to play well for them to A, get to the postseason, and B, to have any shot at doing anything at all. And those chances are going.
Yeah, put your feelings and your takes aside. If you're a Cubs fan right now, we need Kyle Tucker, right? And this is
desperately.
This is ripping the cord. This is pushing the nuclear button. Where I have never seen a star player, the best player, the best, most talented hitter in your lineup have to take a seat like this. And And maybe we'll look back and applaud Craig Counsell for it, or maybe it won't work, or maybe we'll also say that he should have done it 2 weeks ago. But it really is an incredible moment in the tale of 2 seasons right now for the Chicago Cubs.
All right, we're going to get to Counsell. We have to get to the Cade Horton blister injury today, what that means moving forward. But again, in the chat, let us know, how many games is Tucker going to miss here? How many of the next games will he sit out, do you think? Let us know in the chat. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Cubs fans, at Toyota's national sales event, we got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. 4Runners, an off-road icon. Tundra hauls it all with its twin-turbo engine, and Tacoma takes adventure straight to the top. You want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? The all-hybrid Camry is revving and ready to ride. Visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer on Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And hey, Luke, I'm strictly coming from a 120 CHGO Die Hard event. I had a beef, I had a burger, I had a dog, and I cried tears just like it did in the rain. And you can upgrade your fandom today with exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merch and events, and also access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out and talk Chicago sports and so much more. So here's what you got to do. Go to allchgo.com. Latest information on how you can join the thousands of CHGO diehards and community. Come hang out with us. We can't wait to connect with you on an even greater level.
The only thing I can think of worse than this Cubs tailspin would be property taxes in Cook County. I've been paying property taxes for the last 20 years. Seriously ridiculous, Joey. Overpaying for property taxes is something far too many people do in Cook County. You don't have to be one of them. In Cook County, the appeals window varies by township, closes up rapidly, and is difficult to win. So let Ownwell's experts ensure you're prepared for when it counts. You can sign up in less than 3 minutes. In Cook County, Ownwell has a 25% contingent fee, meaning you only pay if your property taxes are reduced. Put property tax back in your pocket. 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction. Ownwell handles everything, start to finish. So save money on your Cook County property taxes with Ownwell. Start your appeal today at, excuse me. See how choked up I am on this?
It's an exciting deal.
Cook. That's OWNWELL.com/cook. All right, Joey.
Yes.
Cade Horton. I don't think it could have started worse than that, right? Like, here's a guy who had gone 5 starts and allowed 1 earned run. I said, let him eat. He's going toe-to-toe with Peralta today. And you could tell right away in the second inning, something's off. He's not hitting the spots. He can't throw anything off speed. It's like he doesn't have it, right? That was the result of the home run. Same thing with the fastball. And then we see the blister. The Cubs take him out. I wish actually they had taken him out about 10 pitches earlier, but they didn't. And here we are. He still thinks that he will make his next start. How worried are you about Cade Horton?
On the micro level, in terms of his next start, I'm actually fairly concerned, to be honest with you, because I'm with you, Luke. In the first inning, I thought he looked locked in. I thought he looked like Cade Horton. Yeah. And the irony of this is we've talked about it on the show. And me personally, I think he has a lot of interesting qualities that are reminiscent of Kerry Wood. He's got a nice big fastball. He's got a pretty good curveball. He's kind of got like that, not in a derogatory way. He's a young man. I'm an older man. He's got a little bit of that like pasty kind of like baby face kind of complexion to him with weird goateed facial hair. And Luke, now he has a blister issue. How Kerry Wood is that? And the reason why that I'm fairly concerned is not on the macro level, but you pointed it out perfectly. He did not trust anything that involved his changeup and some of his off-speed stuff. And you really saw him lose the zone. And what have we been hammering on our show the last couple of shows, especially when Cade Horton starts, last 4 starts, pounding first pitch strikes, not walking guys, in control of the zone and attacking the zone. If he does not have confidence, if he thinks that blister is rubbing a little bit, you really have to start to think about maybe skipping him a start, because not to be weird about it, but we're talking about skin here. I mean, the skin can only heal. I'm sure there's plenty of things that they can do and do an application and all that stuff, but the skin can only heal as fast as it can heal. And if he has any lingering effect or any sort of doubt in his mind that if he spins one or if he puts the grip on the changeup and he could rip it open again, that could, again, be in his head just enough to throw him off of his game and maybe take him off of this incredible ascending track that he's been on. So I'm going to sit here and say that you really have to monitor this closely. And I know we just did a whole thing about Kyle Tucker and when was the right time to push the button on Kyle Tucker. I will be honest with you that if he was having some difficulty and he was definitely having trouble controlling the zone, I think that maybe they were actually preemptively correct on this of getting him out when they got him out, made sure that it did not get worse. They came out once. I can't remember. He maybe stuck around for, I think, 2 batters after that, and then they pulled him. This might actually be the right call by Tommy Hotovy and Craig Counsell. My hopes for him making his next start and his next turn. I'm a little dubious, Luke. What about you?
Yeah, I don't love it. And I would agree with you and Jedi of Chicago in the live YouTube chat, which, by the way, make sure you head to our new YouTube channel here at CHGO Cubs, like and subscribe and tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger. He says, I wouldn't be surprised if they skip Cade Horton. Listen, again, if Tucker doesn't hit and the offense doesn't come alive, it's not going to matter if Cade Horton has a blister. So,
100%.
You know, they do have some guys coming back. You hope that Tyone is good on Tuesday, and you hope that Assad will be better, and maybe Jordan Wicks buys you a game. I don't know.
Colin Ray appearance. We haven't heard from Colin Ray in a little bit.
Expected this season. I don't know. I mean, if you're not talking about injuring the guy long term, but you're right. It's only going to heal one way. It's not like you can give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you can go get it stretched out. It's just going to heal or it's not going to heal.
And if you rip it open again, Luke,
yes,
you're talking about an even longer time of recovery. So you have to nip this in the bud, if you will, as quick as you can. Hopefully get him on a program where that skin can at the very least heal and get him back to the point where he has the confidence to throw all the all the arsenal of pitches that he has. And it's really tough, right? And we dealt with it with Kerry Wood. You know what I mean? There's nothing structurally wrong. There's nothing about it, but that's one of those weird pitcher things. It's also like, when a running back in the NFL is turf toe. It's not like the worst injury in the planet, but it is so integral to their particular profession and skill. You have to be incredibly careful with it.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see where it was funny because in the broadcast, they compared him and his numbers to rookie Mark Pryor. And now we're comparing him to Kerry Wood with the blister problem, but also obviously Mark Pryor had tons of rain. I'm not wishing, knock on wood, all over the place that is the path for Cade Horton. It does look like Mark Pryor sometimes. Like I get it. But the blister thing was just the start of an absolutely miserable day for the Chicago Cubs. John Greenberg over at The Athletic, I think the boys summed this one up. Well, he tweeted out today, he said, I've covered a lot of Cubs teams, and the vibes right now are best described as late September 2004. We're talking Kent Merker calling up to the booth, trying to get Steve Stone fired, all that nonsense. And it was a team that had great expectations after 2003 and unraveled down the stretch. It does feel like that a little bit. It does. And they haven't been World Series as they were the year before, obviously. This team is just like imploding on itself, especially offensively. And then you get the Cubby occurrences that Lou used to talk about with the blisters and just the nonsense that's going on. It's a pretty good comparison. You were asking me earlier if I've seen a player like Tucker. I'm just telling you right now, this feels like getting swept by the Dodgers when you had the best record. This feels like Ted Lilly slamming his glove down on the mound. And this feels like 2004, a crazy, angry player calling up to the booth and saying, tell him to stop. Like
the other next? One,
boombox. Are we smashing a boombox now? Is that next?
Yeah, the other one that stirs the echoes just a little bit. 2019, not a great Cubs team, but still Cubby core.
Yeah,
I went to all those games in San Diego. Nico Horner gets called up, gives them a little bit of a jolt. They still lose 9 in a row. Right when they're on kind of the doorstep of a lot of baseball teams, you either take that step forward or, you know what I mean, you just turn into the team that you actually are supposed to be. 2004, I think, is a really great example. The only difference is, and here's what's scary about this situation, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong with this, is that we are coming off of 2 back-to-back 83-win seasons.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, we had the team that made a great surge towards the deadline that convinced Jed to buy, and then in September crumbled, especially in that Atlanta series, really tough. Last year's team felt a little bit more on the mediocre side, right? Consistently fighting 500. When are they ever going to go on a run? Never found it, never got on that run. The part that is depressing about this situation is that I believed with my whole heart, and I might still believe it, that this team is different than those last 2 iterations of the last 2 seasons. And they are unfortunately reverting back to very, very similar signs of what we saw in 2023 and 2024 of a team that just can't get that hot winning streak together, that can't, you know what I mean, just grab it and take it. And they're literally letting the Brewers eat their lunch right now. Eat their lunch, eat their dinner, take their lunch ticket, you know, with the punch cards. They're taking the whole thing. They're getting the free sandwich from the whole thing with the Milwaukee Brewers right now. And that's what really sucks about this, is that you thought that the team was actually taking that incremental step forward, especially with Kyle Tucker in the lineup. We ran that graphic last week that Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker, unfortunately, their numbers ain't that dissimilar anymore.
No.
That can still change, but I do think that's a pretty good comparison. 2004, really tough. 2019, I just remember that too as well, where I was a pro Joe Madden guy, you know what I mean? And that 9-game losing streak really put the nail in the coffin of that. Craig Counsell ain't going nowhere, but unfortunately, Cubs and expectations, this team is shooting up the charts right now in terms of one of the more disappointing situations that we've gone through in a long time. I hope it changes, but man, we've been in this for a while now. So I don't know. I would love to hear anyone's suggestion in terms of how they think that they're going to turn it around. Someone dropped in the chat just really quick too as well about asking, should the Cubs fans be booing Kyle Tucker? And in this state right now with 4 games coming up against the Cubs, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm really not. If that's how you want to express your emotion as a paying fan, I'm not going to sit here and wag a finger at it for a second. And frankly, there's a lot of reasons and evidence that you should do it. I'm not a booing guy. I don't boo. The only time I ever booed anybody was Alex Rodriguez when they finally let him back from his 200+ game suspension at the rate. That's the only time I've ever. Yeah, Ryan Braun's another one. People that cheat the game. People that treat other people in life poorly, people that, you know, cheat themselves and not do what's right in this society. Those are the people that I boo. Kyle Tucker turning the ball over and hitting it to second like Jason Hayward. I'm just not booing that, but it's a fair question, and I'm not going to be upset with anyone that would feel that they should do that.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell anybody how to Cub. That's what I've said since day one. I'm not here to tell you how to Cub. Do I think booing will make them play better? No. Do I think you have the right to boo if you paid $200? Yes, if you do it in the right way and don't make it personal and say terrible things. If you're just booing, you've paid for the right to that if that's what you want to do. Do I think it will help the team? No. But let's make one thing clear. While I'm not saying you should or shouldn't boo, I am saying this. The lovable loser thing ended in 2016. You know, that's over. You won the World Series. You went to 3 straight NLCS. You, as a franchise, raised the bar. You raised our expectations as a fan base. And that's why you now hear boos at Wrigley Field when this team has gone from best record in baseball to looking like they might not even make the postseason because they're in such a tailspin offensively. It's horrible to watch. They've got to find a way out of it. And my bigger concern is this. Again, this is on the players. They have to hit, period. Craig Counsell can't make them hit. But I am here to ask, what is he doing to make this better? We're paying him $8 million. The Cubs are paying him $8 million a year. I'm not saying he needs to throw a fit. I'm not saying he needs to get kicked out of a game. But when you're the highest paid manager in baseball, and Jed Hoyer just got a big contract extension from the Cubs, correct? What are you doing as a front office, as a coaching staff, as a support staff? What are you doing to fix Kyle Tucker? What are you doing to help these guys get through that mental stretch? I'm not saying Joe Madden had all the answers with crazy animals. I'm not saying they should bring out crazy animals. I'm just saying, what are you doing? Tell us something you've done. Tell us something that you've done to try and fix this. I've seen Kyle Tucker bat second or third every single day. He's hitting 189. He's hitting 189 recently with one home run since July 1st. What are you doing? And so we asked the question, are the Cubs too late on everything this season? Right now, the answer is yes. They're very slow to react to things. It sure seems like it, that they're just slow to make the right decision.
Luke, I mean, go back to the trade deadline. And you were on at first that you – no, but I mean, no, but I mean, like,
don't make me do it again. Don't make me do it again.
I know, but like you said a month before that they needed to jump the market and set the market for themselves. And then when the trade deadline didn't go the way that they wanted it to, they blamed the market and the prices when they weren't being proactive about it. And my only minor note when it comes to Jed and Craig right now, they both have talked in the media specifically about the lineup and about Owen Casey, about Kyle Tucker, all that stuff. And what I'm about to say is, look, I think that their answers are clearly, they're coming from a place of intellect and experience, and I can completely respect it. But my only issue is that the way that they presented both of them comes across a little bit more like an explanation, which we can also call an excuse, more than it is in a belief and a philosophy in their system. And my biggest issue the last couple of days in terms of just the lineup configuration, when you ask Jed about it, Jed will say, well, we can't necessarily move these guys up in the lineup because you never know when they're going to slump. Mm-hmm. Forgive me, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something very much along those lines.
Pretty good summary, though.
Right. And then you go to Craig Counsell, and Craig Counsell goes, the idea is, and they're both in line with play your best guys and stuff, you don't want to mess with the lineup because I really like my outfielders that we have. They deserve to play every single day. And if you move a guy up in the lineup, you never know when a guy is going to slump. So you got the general manager saying, Craig Counsell, said, you never know when they're going to break out of the slump by keeping slumping players in a particular place in the lineup. I kind of messed that up, but you have two different kind of, you have a dichotomy, right, of ideas going on right now. Jed is saying, by moving someone around, you never know when they're going to slump. Craig is saying you don't want to move someone because you never know when they're going to break out of the slump. Both those things can be true, and I appreciate Craig saying that right now he wants them to drill in on results, drill in on process and not results, and baseball is a funny game. I get that as an explanation, but as a manager, as a leader of a clubhouse right now, I just want to hear a little bit more belief, and I want to hear a little bit more conviction that these guys are going to break out of it. Because if you're not going to do it, cross it over to any other kind of sport. You still have to earn your spot, right? Nothing is handed to anyone other than the NFL quarterback, right? In any other sport, NHL, basketball, all that stuff, you have to earn your minutes, you have to earn your time, earn your shots. You have to earn your place in the lineup. And I'm sorry, and dude, honestly, you've been on this for a little while too, of like, would it make Kyle Tucker upset if they moved him around in the lineup just for a day or two?
Yeah.
I think they clearly thought that it would.
Yeah.
Because
and now they've
waited.
Really upset him by saying, I would love to know what his reaction was. Like,
yes,
he's furious. He's been booed. And they're like, you know what? You got to sit multiple games. Was it his suggestion? Was it their suggestion? How long does he think it's going to be? All of that stuff. Like, wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall for some of these conversations that are going on? Again, I'm not sitting here blaming Craig Counsell for everything that's going wrong. It's about the players. But we were also told that this guy was going to make everybody better And I know we've seen progress of guys like PCA and like it's not that players, they have developed, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I'm looking for anybody to fix this team. So it obviously makes sense to look to your $8 million manager and say, dude, you're supposed to be the icing on top of the cake. You're supposed to be the super fixer, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the guy that comes in and cleans everything up and it's all good again.
Yeah. To be kind of meatball about it, right? Is it a fair question to ask that this organization's philosophy, from the general manager to the president of baseball operations to the manager, has leaned too much on analytics and not enough on the human touch? It's a meatball question.
Maybe.
But now we're sitting Kyle Tucker to reset mentally and mechanically for a couple of days. And when we talk about, this is the lineup and we play our best guys, but Dansby Swanson's hit 5th for 232 plate appearances this year. So make that analytically work for me. Is there a balance, right? I mean, baseball is a very old game, and I appreciate the analytics, and it's brought us a higher velocity of four-seam fastball, and it's brought us launch angle, and it's brought us the 3 true outcomes and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, like, there has to be something going on that is maybe more of a human touch with some of these players right now, because we know that they're pressing. We know that they're overwhelmed. We know that there's players like PCA that are like untamed horses that cannot be harnessed, that are stealing second base and flying past the bag right now. Like, it's not just physical stuff. This is mental stuff going on right now. And we are in it so deep. The spiral is truly downward for the Chicago Cubs. Can you get out of that with analytics, Luke? Because I don't think you can. There has to be a human element to this.
There is a human element. And Sean Graves in the live YouTube chat says the whole team is run on hopes, prayers, and what ifs. That's the philosophy of the front office and Counsell. That's a pretty pointed comment, but I'm not going to say there isn't some of it. Like, again, I'm not blaming Counsell. I'm blaming the players, all yada, yada, yada. But it does seem like both the front office and the team in general are afraid of making – this is a general statement, are afraid of making big decisions or big moves in general, which leads to them making them too late, too often. Is that fair? When it comes to injuries, that's been true. When it comes to trading stars, when they should have traded them probably a year earlier, back, that should have happened, right? When it comes to making moves at the deadline, I don't want to risk it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. The price is too much. Maybe you should have made the moves earlier. Maybe you should have done it in the offseason instead of waiting to see what this team would do, and then the price got too high. There's many times waiting for Kyle Tucker to be sent out, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for all of these things to happen. Now, I will say they got rid of guys in the bullpen early on. That's one example you can say in their favor of, like, okay, this year was different. They didn't wait. They said, you're not good, Merriweather. You're out. You're not good. You're out. They did do that, and they did make a big move. Obviously, don't know if you're going to regret it or not, but getting Kyle Tucker and giving away all these years of control of 3 young players. Okay, that's a fairly big move. But at the trade deadline, you did absolutely nothing. And what you did do was acquire a player with a huge injury list who may not pitch again. And the top offensive player that you acquired is batting like $156, even though I like the move. Like, what you didn't do didn't work, and what you did do didn't work. And a lot of the stuff that we're seeing here, like in the second half of the season and just before the All-Star break, all seems like they're too little, too late. And that's what I'm afraid of with the Tucker decision. And watching, again, I know that the Brewers went on this historic run, but you've done very little at the right time to try and at least slow it down, slow any of it down, to the point now where if you lose 4 more in a row to the Brewers, you might look at the wild card and say, man, they're getting pretty close to us. We got a nice lead, and the percentages say we're going to make the playoffs probably, but I've seen that before where you think that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we missed it by a game. What happened?
We have to be very careful when it comes to the wild card. We still got to play the Milwaukee Brewers 4 more times over the next week. A team, by the way, that I still think is going to peak but they haven't peaked yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, oh my God,
they're not going to
out.
peak until at least after this series.
But you know what? Yeah, to your point, it's hard to strike the right balance. And I will say that something that I have noticed, and because we have seen more proactive behavior with certain players on this roster, is that there has been a tendency to give a little bit of a longer leash to some of the guys that are more tenured on this team. And when I talk about more tenured on this team, Kyle Tucker, for one, let's just get him out of the way. I think he's earned the respect and the stature to work through certain issues on the team. But when I talk about tenure on this team, I'm specifically talking about Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, and Seiya Suzuki. And I'm not saying that these guys should be benched or replaced or even to the chat DFA'd. But what I am also saying, though, is that when these guys start to struggle, that there is nothing wrong with saying to this player, we're going to back off of you for a few days. And also maybe a tiny low-level subtle message that you have to kind of earn it to maintain the tenured status that you have on this team. And when you talk about the 2 83-win teams the last 2 years and this year, the common denominators of the offense are Dansby, Seiya, and Ian Happ. Each of them during this season have endured their own version of struggles. Nico Horner can play shortstop, right? There's nothing that says you can't pinch hit for Dansby Swanson and hit him with Owen Casey in a crucial moment when he's hitting 170 with runners in scoring position. It's what's best for the team. There's nothing that says, hey, we're going to back off of Ian Happ for the 4 or 5 days. And they had to do it with Seiya. They tried to give him a bit of a blow. But if you go around the lineup, Matt Shaw, nothing's handed to you. PCA, all-star, darling of the league, nothing is handed to you. We will pinch hit you. We will sit you down here and there. And I think that there's
back, by the way, a little bit.
You know what? He's been great. And honestly, of all like the silver linings right now,
past second, which.
Yeah, but I do like what I've seen from him at the plate.
Yes.
I do like how he's rebounded. And we've talked a lot about when we talk about the mental dexterity, which is kind of the theme of this episode a little bit. We know that his highs and his lows are pretty vast. And to see him come back into the fold a little bit, I love to see it. I also love to see him. He was one of the first guys to go up and hug Owen Casey after his first hit, his major league hit. Like it doesn't mean anything on the field, but I like to see it. I just feel like that there needs to be a little bit more of a balance of how do we get these guys right besides just writing it down on the lineup card and riding it out as long as we possibly can. Shout out to Nico Horner, by the way, who we haven't mentioned at all during this episode, because you know what? He's steady and awesome. And bless Nico Horner for at least that gift right now on a rainy Monday night. Thank
goodness that he wasn't ready to start the season and that they didn't trade him if they were thinking about it. Like all the people that wanted Nico traded, he's been captain steady on this team. And really he's been that way for a long time. Now I'm reading this chat here and I see YouTube is so cool. And he says, or she says, either way, you guys really know how to say a whole lot of nothing, don't you? I'm sitting here in the other room. I left my TV on, and you guys just keep whining and whining and whining about nothing and everything.
Is that my wife?
First of all, point taken, and don't disagree with you. But when you're benching your star player for the biggest series and it's gotten to this is why all Cubs fans are thinking like we are thinking today. It is looking very dim. It's why John Greenberg said this feels like 2004. It's why you asked me, have you ever seen a player go like this? So I'm going to end this podcast today with positivity, Joey.
Yes.
And some of it will be ridiculous. Here it is. Owen Casey, congratulations. You did it. Your first major league hit, and now all the people that called for your playing time, we hope they were right, and we hope you should have played in all 3 games against Pittsburgh. And here we go. We will see if you could carry the team. And finally, remember, rain once saved the Cubs in 2016.
Oh, here he goes.
Could rain once again save the Cubs in 2025, washing out their lowest point and letting them reset for the next 4 games against the Brewers? Is it possible that rain and Mother Nature will carry the Cubs to victory again, washing away the sins that they had before it. That's the craziest, dumbest, and most ridiculous thing I could say before the end of this podcast, and I thought it was fitting after the way they played today. Thanks for checking out the CHGO
Peace be with you.
Podcast. Thanks to Joey. Don't forget, fly the W, post-game tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.